Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Crowd Chatter Podcast. It's been a little bit, but we are back, and today it's going to be some more MLB videos. We got a lot of stuff to get through. We got a lot of football stuff, of course. I'm sure everybody knows. The NFL Hall of Fame game is going to be this Thursday, so we're going to get the South and the East divisions done before Thursday. Well, at least by Thursday before that game starts. So those videos should be out to you within the next few days here. We're also going to be starting college football any minute now. So be on the lookout for those videos as well, as we will have some of those to go through. And also be on the lookout for possibly some college basketball stuff, as you know, that's going to obviously come up in about 3-ish months here. I'm sure we'll have some college football or college basketball videos to go through. NBA is also starting to heat up a little bit. We might have some of those videos, as that's obviously Serbinsky's side of things, along with college football, which is all of our side of things. So let's get started with this MLB video, though. And the first team that we have to go over now, as I'm doing this video, this is right now the closing hours of the MLB trade deadline. So as I'm doing this video, I'm sure there's going to be a million trades that are still to be made. And one of those teams that has that to make a trade, actually, is this team I'm about to talk about, which is the Baltimore Orioles. This team certainly has the offense. There's no question about their offensive capability. Their question is their pitching, because they don't really have a top of the line quality starting pitcher. They really lack that, and this is the blatantly obvious team to go ahead and get, one of those top of the line pitchers that are available at the trade deadline. Justin Verlander, of course, many people think he might get moved from the Mets now that they also trade away Max Scherzer. So who knows? They might also trade away Verlander, and maybe they eat a bunch of his salary to help out the Orioles. Then maybe the Orioles go and pick up yet another pitcher to try and even help out their rotation even more by getting someone like a Lorenzen or a Rodriguez, or maybe even they can go and get lucky and get Dylan Cease or something. So I think the Orioles, clearly they're going to be looking for pitching, and I think that is the obvious thing to starting pitching, to be specific, as the Orioles really lack that position at the moment. And with their insanely deep farm system, they can easily go and get pretty much anybody they want. So I really like this Oriole team. It's going to be a question of if their starting pitching can really hold up in the playoffs, because they're obviously their bullpen, their high end relievers are disgusting, with Yanir Cano and Felix Bautista. They might actually be the newest Josh Hader and Devin Williams of the league. I mean, of course those two were Brewers at the same time, and now we see these two coming out. I think this might end up becoming the next duo of that caliber. Of course, those two are no longer both Brewers. One of them, I mean, Williams still is, but Hader now is with the Padres. He might go back to Milwaukee though. He is a free agent. But this Oriole team is so stinking good, and they continue to play well. They have stolen first in the AL East away from the Tampa Bay Rays, who are directly below them, who I'll be talking about next. But this Oriole team is really impressive. What a season they are having, and they're not slowing down. They're continuing to roll out wins, and they're continuing to surprise a lot of people, because I'm not sure many people really expected to see the Baltimore Orioles still this good come the first day of August, which this is the July review for those who maybe weren't didn't really recognize. But next, we'll talk about said Tampa Bay Rays, who um, are only a game and a half behind the Baltimore Orioles. This team, their pitching staff has been hurt by injuries. They've had a lot of injuries in their starting rotation. That's why they went and got Aaron Savali from the from Cleveland, sending them Kyle Manzardo, one of their massive prospects, ranked I think 30 like six overall in the MLB prospect like line stuff. He's ranked number 36. So the only thing about making a trade with the Tampa Bay Rays is the Rays are just infamous for making out like bandits seemingly on this every trade they make. So I'm sure. So the running joke for me has just become, well, this either means that Manzardo is going to be a complete bust and is going to suck for Cleveland, or Aaron Savali is going to be a perennial all-star. Just every trade Tampa Bay seems to make they make out like bandits on it, and I will never understand how they're able to do that. But they all it always seems to work for Tampa Bay, and it always seems to miserably fail for the other team. Of course, the Tigers were victim of one of their trades, and they gave us Austin Meadows for seemingly nothing, which was Isaac Paredes and like some draft pick that I don't remember. And I don't know what the draft pick turned into, but of course Austin Meadows has been out for most of these past 2 years due to vertigo and now uh, health issues. Uh, and then as for Isaac Paredes, he's turned into a 20 like plus home run hitter right now. So I don't know, but for Tampa, this is a team that definitely I would say they've been hurt by injuries in the bullpen and in the starting rotation, so they could use a couple arms there. The offense has looked good, but kind of like the Orioles, they're looking for a starting pitcher, and they will continue to do so. But so far, still so good for Tampa Bay. Obviously, their biggest player, Randy Arozarena, has been absolutely terrible lately. As since the All Star break, he has had 7 hits. Yeah, 7 hits since the All Star break. That's literally all he has had. He has had 7 hits. So the All Star game was what, July 11th. I think the first game was like July 14th or 15th. So that's like a little over 2 weeks now, and he's only had 3 games where he even actually got a hit. It adds up to something pretty miserable. It adds up to I think something like 7 for 46. So it's bad. So they really need him to turn it around. Next, we have the Toronto Blue Jays sitting at 59 and 48. They are 6.5 behind the Orioles, but realistically, the winner of this division is going to be either Baltimore or Tampa. But the Blue Jays are certainly in the hunt for a wild card spot, and Bo Bichette getting hurt yesterday did not help them. That's why they actually, not too long ago, went ahead and got themselves Paul DeJong, a shortstop from the St. Louis Cardinals, who have had a disappointing season. Bringing him in and getting him at the shortstop position just for however long Bichette is gone, and even when Bichette does come back, maybe they have a new spot that he can go and fill another spot on the team. But for the Blue Jays, this is a team that they're pretty darn good. Their offense has looked pretty good. Whit Merrifield has been on a tear lately for this team. Several homers, lots of hits. He's been so good lately that the Blue Jays actually decided to upgrade him to the leadoff spot. He has been that good in the past week or so, or actually past few weeks. Well, no, past week. And he was bad last year, so I'm sure Blue Jays are very happy to see him doing so well this year. Um, but overall, Blue Jays, I mean, they once again, this is a team that everyone expected to have a good season. Thus far, they mostly have. Pitching staff has looked pretty good. They are missing Jordan Romano. Their all-star closer is on the IL right now with I think it was like back inflammation. So they will be missing him for however long he is out. I don't really know who's supposed to uh, cover for him while he's who's going to get the closing opportunities for the Blue Jays while he is out. But hopefully, obviously he's not out for too long, as Toronto certainly would like to have him back as their top guy in the bullpen. But so far for the Blue Jays, they're in the postseason, and they're still chugging along. They've already made an addition. Supposedly they want Teoscar Hernandez back, but we'll see what happens. But not too bad for Toronto. And then next we have the Boston Red Sox sitting at 56-50. Kind of a surprise for Boston as well, as nobody expected them to be any good. And here they are, right outside, I think, the wild card picture. I believe they're like either a game or 2 games out of the last wild card spot. Because of course there's three teams who make it to the wild card now, and I believe they're only 2 games out of the last spot, if I'm not mistaken. I will make sure of that. They're 2.5 out. The last team in the wild card is the Blue Jays, and they're 2.5 behind them. So, um, but overall, Boston's got a solid team. They've actually done pretty well. And kind of the theme of this entire division, minus the last team and Toronto, I guess, but the kind of theme, like with Baltimore and Tampa, they both need some pitching. Tampa because of injuries, Baltimore because, well, they just don't really have many. And it's kind of the same with Boston. They lack the pitching as well. I mean, you really can tell that they need pitching because their top 2 guys to start the year were Corey Kluber and Chris Sale. Now, yes, those are big names, but the last time that those 2 guys were relevant was probably 5 years ago. I mean, Corey Kluber, pretty much since he's left since he's left Cleveland, has either been hurt or not good, as he consistently puts up like a 5 ERA every year since then. And then Chris Sale, when healthy, has been bad and barely has been healthy. So neither guy really, since their peak days with Chris Sale being with Chicago and then like a year or 2 with Boston and then Kluber with Cleveland, neither guy has shown any resemblance of that. Well, Chris Sale did a little bit this year until he got hurt again. A nice surprise for Boston has been James Paxton actually coming in and looking pretty good actually thus far for him. Which that guy also is very old and also hasn't stayed healthy for years on end. So kind of surprising to see him doing so well this year and actually staying healthy thus far, which is really impressive. Tristan Casas has been on a roll for him lately. Rafael Devers, of course, has been pretty good. Uh, Yoshida, their big time outfielding signing from Japan, Masataka Yoshida, has been really good this season. Justin Turner's played well. So they've really done themselves pretty well thus far. Boston has, and they've actually been quite a surprise this season. We'll see how they keep doing thus far. They are on a 3-game losing streak, and their current series is up against another team they're trying to fend off in the Seattle Mariners, so that's a huge series for them. But overall, Boston's been a big surprise. They've been pretty good, and we'll see if they can continue their surprising season and maybe make a surprise run to the postseason. And then in last place in this division, who is still not even that, doesn't even have that bad of a record, is the New York Yankees at 55 and 51, as they're only a game behind Boston, which would mean they're 3.5 out of the wild card of the last wild card spot, 3.5 behind the Blue Jays. This Yankee team has been seemingly up and down all year long. The thing about this team is they actually, unlike Boston, kind of not really, unlike Boston, unlike Tampa, unlike Baltimore, and really unlike Toronto, they need hitting, and they need it fast. As their bats have seemingly gone ice cold, with DJ LeMahieu having a absolutely horrible season, Anthony Rizzo having an mostly underwhelming year, Anthony Volpe coming up this year and not being all that impressive. Aaron Judge was out for a while, but he is finally back, so that's a huge upgrade for him in the outfield. And then Stanton has been out at several times this season, but he's also been really bad. So that has now helped them. And they really just don't have much else in the outfield, and Stanton's more of a designated hitter than he is an outfielder. So they're lacking an outfield bat. They're really just lacking an outfielder in general. And so really they're looking to get an outfielder this getting an outfielder at some point here, and they so far have not been able to get that. Um, and so we'll see if the Yankees can get that outfield bat. And looks like I just got a notification. JV's heading back to Houston. Alrighty, well, that's kind of surprising. I figured he would go somewhere else, but back to Houston he goes. We'll get to them soon, but New York Yankees, pretty good team. They're just stuck in a pretty brutal division. I mean, if you put them in, I mean, what's insane is if you put this team in the AL Central right now, they would be winning the division, which also shows how bad the AL Central is. But you guys get the point. This is not really a terrible team. They're just stuck in a absolutely awful, or I'm sorry, absolutely brutal division, and they keep getting stuck playing really stinking good teams. But overall, the Yankees, they're not that bad, but they do need some outfielders. They're lacking outfield depth right now. Uh, their players have not been hitting well, with Stanton under the Mendoza line now. Of course, Judge being hurt and other guys not panning out. So an offensive bat or two would be greatly appreciated in the Bronx. Now we go to the AL Central, the fabled AL Central, with the measly Minnesota Twins leading this putrid division at 54 and 53, even after a 5-game losing streak, which also still shows how terrible this division is. That they've lost 5 in a row and are still somehow winning the division. But this Minnesota team, they need bats. I mean, just like the Yankees, they need some offense. I mean, this pitching staff is actually the best in the majors. They have been that good. I mean, you look at their runs against, they're at 436, which is very close to Tampa and Toronto. I mean, they're a little higher now. They had a couple bad games lately, which is why it's a bit higher. But if you'd looked before this week, they were actually the number one. They were the best team with runs against. Nobody. They had given up the least amount of runs of anyone in the MLB, which is utterly fantastic. But they had obviously that 5-game losing streak has hurt them, as they pretty much were giving up 10 runs on average for 4 games. With 2 of those being against the Royals, which is really embarrassing. And then they lost the other one 2-1, so at least they didn't give them 10 runs that time. But the Twins, they don't really have a great offense. Carlos Correa is obviously one of their big offensive bats. He has not been good at all. Um, and as for the rest of the offense for Minnesota, it just has been very underwhelming, and their pitching has pretty much been trying to carry the entire load all year long. I mean, you look at their offensive bats. Joey Gallo is one of their bigger offensive players. He's batting like 180 and I think 17 homers or something. Byron Buxton was their big time player last year, hitting 207 with 17 homers. I mean, 207. I mean, they high homers, but you hear the averages. I mean, 207. Actually, it's even worse. 178 for Joey Gallo. Max Kepler 232, Correa, as I mentioned earlier, 228, Polanco 242. I don't know why they start this guy, but Willie Castro 247. That's actually sad that that's their highest average so far. 224 for Christian Vasquez, Jeffers 281. I don't think he starts though. Um, but you kind of can tell from all the averages, they're all consistently low. None of them are very good, which is the biggest issue for them. Is they have really not been able to get anything going offensively, and it's been a struggle bus for the uh, for the Twins. This 5 game losing streak, their offense actually was putting up decent amounts of runs, but their pitching was significantly laying them down. So we'll have to see if they can turn things around here soon, because they really need to. But they still lead this division, not by much, but they still lead the division at the moment. And directly behind them, looking to take their spot back away from them, is the Cleveland Guardians at 53 and 54. 1 game behind the Twins. Cleveland is in a similar-ish position as the Twins, as their offense is even worse in Minnesota, but their pitching is almost pretty much on par with them. They did make a trade with the Rays, giving them, as I mentioned earlier, Aaron Savali. They got a big-time prospect. If the Ray curse continues, then Cleveland is going to really hate that trade later. Um, but Cleveland's team overall, the offense is lacking. I don't think this team is probably going to add at the deadline. As I mean, they're 1 game out of the AL Central, but I think they know just as well as the Tigers do, which I'm getting to our pathetic team next. I think they kind of they kind of know, like this is a bad division, but let's be real, we're not a great team. So if we win the division with what we have, hey, that's great. But you know, they already traded away Savali. But if we win a division with the guys of which we already have, you know what? That's great. We'll go to the playoffs and probably get smacked around like crazy. But you know what? We'll try. We'll go to the playoffs. Why not? But otherwise, we're not gonna win. We're likely not winning a division. We're not a great team. We have not had the offensive production. All of our big time players, not named Jose Ramirez, have been brutal this year. Josh Bell has been better as of lately, but that's still not going to be enough uh, jumpstart the rest of the offense. As they also trade away Ahmed Rosario. They got Noah Syndergaard, which that's like the corpse of Noah Syndergaard. That guy also hasn't been relevant in like 5 years. But Cleveland, oh, and he also is hurt now. Looks like, but Cleveland is their offense isn't very special. They still might win the division because the division sucks, but their offense just is not really. their offense isn't good. It has not produced well enough, and yeah, it's not going to work out for them. I don't think they're going to have a hard time really finding uh, good offensive action in that. Going to have a hard time getting some offense out of the guys that they have, unless some of them turn it around. But as of right now, it's not been good on offense for Cleveland. Pitching's worked out, but the offense continues to be an issue. And now, yeah, the team I don't want to talk about. The Detroit Tigers are up next at 47 and 59. It is a miracle that we're only 47 and 59. This offense is brutal, and that is not an understatement. This offense is bad. And even with having now Riley Green back, with having Torkelson being better, with Kerry Carpenter even doing pretty well, we're still not really scoring runs. And our pitching staff has slowly been getting worse. I mean, it still is miraculous to me how we have a almost minus 100 run differential and are only 6.5 games out of first place in the division. I still find that absolutely amazing. But this this Tiger team, um, yeah, if we're not trading at least somebody in this at this trade deadline, then I have no idea what we're doing. We're 6.5 games out of first place in the division, so theoretically, yeah, we could try adding and trying to win the division. But let's be real, we're not a good team. So even if we did get to the playoffs and we did pass up both Cleveland and Minnesota, we're not going to win a game in the playoffs. I mean, the chances are we're probably going to play like the Blue Jays or something, or yeah, I think we'd probably play like the Blue Jays or. Oh no, would we play the Blue Jays? No, I think we'd play. No, we'd probably play Tampa. And yeah, we're not beating Tampa, so you know probably best that we just trade away the guys of which we have and Eduardo Rodriguez and Lorenzen, both guys, of course, who will probably be free agents next year. Get something for them and get some prospects because Lord knows we need them, and get some hitters for. And geez, get some hitters because we don't have any of them. And so after the Tigers here, who, the Tigers, happy to be moving on. Next, we move on to the Chicago White Sox, who have already offloaded a bunch of talented players so far, with trading away guys like Lance Lynn, Ronaldo Lopez, Joe Kelly. Obviously, the biggest name being Lucas Giolito. Also trade away Kendall Graveman. There's been a lot of rumors about Tim Anderson, but I don't know if he's going to be on the move considering how bad he's been. With how many pitchers are going around, Dylan Cease might also be on the move, but we'll have to see. He's got a lot. He's got a lot of talent, and also has a lot of team control. He's not a free agent after the year, which makes trading him, or which will make the return for him a lot larger than something along the lines of what Lucas Giolito. I think Giolito still brought in a decent amount too, but the White Sox are clearly cleaning house, and they've already cleaned out 5 different pitchers, with some of those being relievers. So they have traded away a bunch of people. They brought in a bunch of younger guys to try and retool slash rebuild, more like a rebuild, but it's been a failed season for them. The offense has been utterly miserable, and the pitching staff has done nothing but walk people literally constantly. So I do not blame the White Sox whatsoever for just saying, you know what, let's just clean house here and start fresh. So White Sox clearly not looking to win at this point, at this juncture. Um, and at 43 and 64, it's only going to get worse from here. And then we have the Kansas City Royals at 32 and 75. I don't think there's really much more I have to say about this team other than they suck and they're rebuilding. They lack pitching. They don't have many hitters, and I don't really know how many good prospects they have. So I hope that whatever veterans they have, they trade now, but I don't know if they will. And now we have the last team in or last division in the AL West. Or I'm sorry, the last division being the AL West. I'm talking way too fast here. And we start with a team that's kind of been floundering around a bit lately with and has been struggling quite a bit with the Texas Rangers. As you can see, that record at 3-7 in their last 10 games. They've lost three in a row. They got swept on the road by the Padres. Really, ever since their hot start, kind of like the Rays, they've really been they've been tumbling quite a bit as of late and have been mightily struggling, which is not good news for Texas. The offense is still scoring an absurd amount of runs, but their pitching staff is starting to field a little bit. They're starting to feel the pressure, and so we'll see if they can turn the ship around. Of course, they already did add a bunch of pitchers. They got themselves. Were they the ones that got? Yeah. Texas added Jordan Montgomery, along with I believe a reliever from the Cardinals. Of course, they also added the big one. They got Max Scherzer from the New York Mets, part of that deal, giving the Mets the Acuna's younger brother, who's a big time prospect. Um, so Texas is trying to keep it going. They're going all in. Obviously, a very they have a very deep farm system, and now they just got to add Wyatt Langford to it after the Tigers were idiots and drafted a high schooler when they could have taken Langford, who's a college bat. Don't still understand that. But this is a really good Texas team. They've played very well. The offense is on stinking fire. They have lost Jonah Heim for the season, so that hurts to lose your starting catcher for the year, who was an all-star, mind you. Um, but this is a good Texas team. They've continued to play well, and even if they don't win a division, because Houston's only a half a game behind now, even if they don't win the division, they should still easily make the playoffs. And next, we do have those said Houston Astros at 60 and 47. As I said, only a half a game behind the Texas Rangers. They have not scored nearly as many runs, but their pitching staff has mostly been holding serve for them. They've done pretty well. Of course, as I just said, they brought back Justin Verlander as they got him in the trade um, with the New York Mets. Um, I don't know if Verlander has signed off on it because he does have a no trade clause, so I'll have to see if he did sign off on that. I'd have to, because I mean, if he is really going back to Houston, I wouldn't think he would. But we'll have to see. I'm sure he probably will sign off on it though. But going to Houston, um, this is a good team. The offense has been solid. They have some good, solid bats who have been turning around a bit lately. Jordan Alvarez is back. I think Altuve is back now as well. So those are huge additions to have back in Houston now. And this is a good team. So we'll have to see how it goes. This is another brutal division as we got the two other teams who have been really stinking hot lately as well, all with good players too. So We'll see if Houston and Texas can fend off those two as well, as I'm gonna get to those. But the Astros have been pretty good thus far, and yeah, I don't expect that to ever change. And now next we have the LA Los Angeles Angels at 56 and 51, 4.5 games out of first place in the AL West, and they are 3 games behind, or I think they're actually only like two behind the wild card spot now. No, I was right. There are 3 games out. So 3 games out of the last wild card spot. The LA Angels. Many people were hoping that with their strugglesome stretch where they're below 500, that the Angels would just consider trading away probably the best player, one of the best players that baseball has ever seen, and probably one of the craziest players that baseball has ever seen in none other than Shohei Ohtani. Many people were hoping maybe the Angels trade him away, get a bunch of really good prospects for him. But instead, the Angels said, after a nice stretch where they blew the crap out of the Tigers and started beating up on somebody else too, the Angels said, "Nah, you know what? We're just gonna go for it. We're gonna try and win. We're not just gonna not trade Otani, but we're gonna go all in." And they went ahead and traded for Lucas Giolito from the from the Chicago White Sox. Also gained Ronaldo Lopez. They also got C.J. Cron and an outfielder from the Colorado Rockies. So they are definitely trying to win now. And they got a solid team for just that purpose. So I'm not surprised by that decision by the Angels. Um, we'll see if they can finally actually get to the playoffs. They would love to have Mike Trout actually healthy again. So we'll see when he's back. They did lose Taylor Ward for the year, so that hurts as well. But overall, the Angels not a terrible team. They're pretty good. Obviously, going trying to make it to the playoffs. We'll see if they can do just that for the first time in what seems like forever. Then next we have the Seattle Mariners at 55 and 51. They have also been very good as of late, pretty much copying the Angels game for game recently, as they still only remain a half a game behind them. Also 7 and 3. Also have won their last two. Um, Seattle is also looking to kind of add and trade away. They kind of like they're weird during the trade deadline. They'll trade away really good players. Like they traded away their top closer to the Diamondbacks already this year. They trade away Paul Sewald, but then you'll also see them go ahead and add like a really big bat, and you're just like, what? It doesn't make any sense, but it seems to work for Seattle. They kind of like teeter totter the line. They might do that again this year. As I said, they already traded away Paul Sewald. We'll see what else they do. But this is a decent Seattle team. They have a young and promising pitching staff, along with a young outfield, but really just lack other positions. We'll see if maybe they try and add somebody within the infield. But overall, there's nothing to dislike about Seattle. This is a solid team. And we'll see if now, with a couple more maybe additions or something, that they go ahead and make a run here, try and get themselves back into the playoffs. They're not too far out. They're only 3.5 games out of the wild card, so we'll see if they can maybe make a push. And then we got the last place team in this division. There's not much else to say about them. 30 and 77 for the Oakland A's. One of the most garbage franchises in all of pro sports, and they will remain there until, well, somebody finally does something. And that'll be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Of course, next will be the National League, where we'll talk some more about some other things. I need to charge this laptop, so I'll end this video before I lose power. Until next time, adios, everybody.